name is Eric Sakamoto. Pretty much all them things right there. Yeah. I'm blown away. Like, honestly, like, talked to somebody yesterday, and he had said something to the effect of throwing something out there and see what kind of echoes come back. And this right here is incredible to me.
This program is specifically for young men of color. That's the way it's been geared. It is hoping to affect some of the first aspects of behavioral change, which is awareness. Making folks aware of the decisions that they're making.
So I want to be real clear, like, I think it's clear already, but we're not health practitioners. Really what we are is media heads, passive broadcast journalism major. Really just folks that work with big-time youth development practitioners, big-time media heads who just happen to love sports. And I think that's really critical when we talk about how this kind of project rolled out. It's an idea in this man's head, and it kind of was incubated because we used to sit sort of like back to back and basically just be rapping about just kind of like what's going on in the world of sports, kind of how it relates to all these other things, and how it relates to our work with these young folks.
I've always looked at sports was never from like, oh, I'm just watching the game. Like, there are times I wish I could just sit and just watch a game and just enjoy it. And I think anybody who does media lit in general wishes you just had time you could just sit and can I just enjoy this? Can I just watch this? Can I watch something that's like, has no redemptive quality? I'm just entertained. No, I gotta sit here and dissect. It's wrong he said that. You know, like that's, but, so that's been the way I've just looked at sports for a very long time. And the thing that was really great about sports is that sports allowed us to have conversations that we would never have about other things. Like if I walked in the room like, oh, bro, we about to talk about, you make some better decisions. I mean, you can't be sleeping with most folks. But we talked about Travis Henry having 9 kids by 9 different baby mamas.
That was
11. 11. Oh, 11. Now we can start talking about all these other things. Yeah, and that was kind of the beauty of sports, is that I was sitting in barbershops and I was sitting in barbershops and had these conversations about sports, but they would never just be about sports. And what I realized is that folks would never have conversations about anything else. Like if you told them this is what you're actually having a conversation about, they look at you like, no, we're going to stop this conversation right now. But if we continue talking about sports, then we can go into all these other areas. And what we were noticing when we were working with a lot of our young men is that we could talk to them about sports, we could talk to them about music, we could talk to them about things that they were interested in. It's not necessarily that, I think sometimes you put this idea that, oh, they're not interested in these academic subjects. No, they're not necessarily interested in how you're delivering it to. And let's be honest about that. If we can be honest about that, then we can start affecting some type of behavioral change. So this program honestly came out of we sit next to each other. We were in a really nice facility now, but we were in a really, really small facility before that. So literally we were back to back. It didn't make sense for me to send an email. I just got one of that. The thing about this is the process. This is what the process sounds like. When we are in the classroom with these young men, this is what it sounds like. We're asking constant prompts, and allowing them to be able to talk to each other. And it's from that space where we start the idea of a commentary writing. And so before they can start writing commentaries, first of all, they gotta have something to write about. They gotta have some thought process that they've thought out at least enough where they can get started. Because what you're gonna get, if not, is I can't do this. I can't think of anything to write. But when you call them to task, well, we were just talking about a couple minutes ago.
Right.
Oh, well, you have to write about that? Yeah. You can write about that? That sounds good. We can work with that. And so this is what their process is to get to the point where they can sit and write commentaries. And I think also for them, it's something about having it recorded. It's something that because we come out there, these little field recorders, to get the little field recorders, and we take what some of the things they're talking about, or getting in the process of being near the mic. And it's just amazing just how receptive they are to the mic. It's a mic. And people's voices want to be heard. To tell you the truth, a lot of this thought process around sports and media literacy, really came from always taken into account the perspective that might have been in the minds of some of the players. Because at some levels they didn't have the same experiences. Or that they were looking at sports from a very different perspective, but there was a need for this other perspective to be out there as well. And so that was also one of the aspects that came out of it as well. That giving folks the tools to talk about something that they already engage in anyway. And for them not, and media literacy is really about folks not being passive observers of the media, but being active in it. And I think sometimes the idea with sports is that you only are active from a perspective if you are actually playing. But you're active from if you're playing fantasy football. You're active if you are trying to go to watch a fight. You're active if you're watching, Ultimate Fighter. You're active if you are buying sneakers. So it makes sense if you're going to be active in the culture to have some kind of voice in that.
I never think he'll be a black quarterback like that, but shit, saw it from my own eyes.
Like he said, why do you think you can fly? I'm an eagle.
I mean, he just raw and lanky and he can do whatever. I mean, he done broke tackles that I'm like, oh, he caught, but then it wasn't. He fumbled, pick up the ball, and do it moving, just raw. He should have had the most running yards instead of McNair.
I don't know, I mean, a lot of white quarterbacks, they don't do the things that black quarterbacks do. Like, they do a lot of throwing, they don't do too much running. Black quarterbacks, they run, they catch, they throw, and they just get it, yeah.
Anybody else got anything?
Like I agree with Ernest. Yeah, they do a lot more than like the white quarterbacks, because like they can do anything like a linebacker, like you know what I'm talking about. It's like shake off people and everything. White quarterback just throw it and just try to get a touchdown. But the black quarterback, he can run. Like if he ain't nobody open, he can run for the touchdown and run pretty fast to get to the touchdown.
McNair knew how to think on his feet, and then in a tight situation, he knew how to come out of it. Like how when he almost got tackled, he ended up throwing the ball when he broke the tackle. And I mean, he just knew how to think on his feet, and some people can't think on their feet, especially when it's in a pressure situation.